In today's lesson, we are going to learn 25 useful expressions for speaking in English. And the thing that these expressions have in common is that they all contain the word under. Let's take a look at the first expression. Number one is under the weather. This is a very useful expression. You will hear it a lot, particularly in the UK, and it means not feeling very well, not 100%. I'm feeling a bit under the weather. I think I'm coming down with something. Remember, the phrasal verb to come down with something means to start to feel ill. You can find that along with other health phrasal verbs in a previous video that I have made. The next is to be under the impression, and this means to think that something is true, especially when that thought was actually incorrect. I was under the impression that they were going to offer me the job, so when they offered it to somebody else, I was really surprised. I love expression number 3. This is to be snowed under, and this means to have too much to do, especially too much work. When you're super busy, you can say, oh, I am snowed under. I'm completely snowed under this week, so I'll have to put off our meeting until next week. Remember, the phrasal verb to put off means to postpone. Number 4 is an interesting one, and I'll explain why in just a moment, but it is under no circumstances. And this means never or no matter what the circumstance may be. Now, what's interesting about under no circumstances is that when you start a sentence or a clause with under no circumstances, you have to invert the subject and verb. This is an example of inversion, and this is one lesson that I have pending. I need to make a lesson about when you should use inversion in English. Now, under no circumstances should members of the public approach the suspect, as he is believed to be incredibly dangerous. So as you can see here, should and members of the public are the other way around. Normally we would say members of the public should not approach, but because we have under no circumstances, that contains the negative, that contains the not, we have to say under no circumstances should members of the public. What happens when we use a construction such as under no circumstances and that triggers inversion? It makes it sound more emphatic. It makes it sound stronger. It really highlights the importance of the fact that members of the public should not approach the suspect because he is so dangerous. 5 is to be underway, and this means in progress. For example, phase 1 of the restructure is now well underway. We often use this construction, this expression, with well. It collocates very well with well. To be well underway, to be making progress. The next expression is to be under an obligation, to be under the obligation, or to be under no obligation. And this means to be forced or not forced, in the case of under no obligation, to do something, often legally. For example, they are under an obligation to repay all of the money owed after the court ruling. So now they are legally obligated, which is to oblige somebody is the verb of obligation. So they are legally obligated to return the money because the court has made it a legal requirement to do that. Number 7 is an idiom, and it is to pull the rug out from under somebody. And this means to take away support from someone. You can imagine standing on a rug and somebody pulls that rug from under your feet. You probably are going to lose your balance. It's going to make you feel unstable. And that's what this means, obviously in a figurative way. When he lost his scholarship, he felt like the rug had been pulled out from under him. So he was receiving a scholarship, which is some money, often from the government or another organization to help pay for your studies. Now, if you lose that scholarship, you then lose all of your financial support, and it puts you in a very difficult or precarious situation. Number 8 is under the influence. This usually means drunk, i.e. having drunk too much alcohol, but we can also be under the influence of other toxic things such as illegal drugs. For example, she was arrested for driving under the influence. So she was caught drink driving. That's what that means. 9 is under your belt, and this means learnt and completed. For example, after several years of experience under his belt, he was able to find a much better paying job. So he secured those years of experience. He achieved those, he got them under his belt, and then he was able to find a better paying job. 10 is under control, and this means that something is being dealt with successfully. For example, fortunately, the forest fires are now under control. So that maybe means they haven't put out or extinguished the fires, but they have them under control and they are not getting any worse. And hopefully they will be able to put out the fires soon. Number 11 is to be underwater. Now, obviously, this can literally mean to be underwater. However, in this context, it means to owe more on something than it's actually worth. You owe more money on something than you could sell it for. This is also sometimes known as negative equity, to have negative equity. For example, I'm underwater on my car, so I can't sell it. So my car loan is more than the value of the car. So it's really difficult or impossible for me to sell that car. The next is under your own steam. And if you do something under your own steam, you do it without the help of others. Don't worry about picking me up. I'll get to your house under my own steam. To pick somebody up is a phrasal verb that means to collect somebody. So don't collect me from the station or the airport. I will find my own way to your house. I'll take a taxi or a bus or another means to get there. The next is under pressure. To be under pressure means to be in a state of stress. For example, they've been under so much pressure lately, it's time they took a holiday. Remember the construction, it's time triggers the unreal past, which is why we have the form took in this sentence. And it means that something should already have been done. Okay, so if I say it's time we did something, I mean, we probably should have done it a few weeks ago, but now we absolutely must. It's imperative that we do it. 14 is under the knife, or to go under the knife. And this means to have surgery or to have an operation. For example, after losing so much weight, she went under the knife to remove the excess skin. So she had an operation to remove the excess skin. It is to sweep something under the rug or to sweep something under the carpet. And obviously this is figurative. It means to try and hide something or to keep something secret instead of actually trying to deal with the problem. For example, if you keep sweeping your money problems under the carpet, you'll have bigger problems in the future. 16 is under your nose. And if something is under your nose, it's in a really obvious place. For example, I spent ages looking for my glasses, but they were under my nose the whole time. I'd left them on my desk. The next is under the table, and this means done secretly or illegally. For example, the politician was sent to prison for accepting payments under the table from an influential businessman. 18 is under arrest, and this means to be in police custody because you are suspected of committing a crime. You haven't been charged yet or convicted yet of that crime, you are just suspected of that crime. So you are placed under arrest. He was placed under arrest after being caught with the stolen jewellery. So he was suspected, logically, of having stolen the jewellery, so the police arrested him. He was placed under arrest. 19 is water under the bridge. And we use this expression to refer to past problems that are no longer considered to be important or relevant. We didn't like each other at school, but that's all water under the bridge now, and we're great friends. So we've forgotten our problems when we were kids, when we were at school. It's not important anymore. It's all water under the bridge. 20 is to take somebody under your wing. This is a lovely expression, and this means to protect them or to take care of them, much like a mother bird does with her babies. She places them under her wing. For example, she took the new interns under her wing when they first started at the company. So the interns arrived with no experience or very little experience. She took them under her wing, she protected them, she taught them how things should be done in the company. 21 is under your breath. And if you say something under your breath, you say it so quietly that nobody else can really hear what you're saying. He said something under his breath during the presentation. I guess it was something he didn't want the boss to hear. Number 22 is to throw somebody under the bus. And this is obviously not a good thing. If you throw somebody under the bus, you do something harmful to them. usually for your own gain. For example, she couldn't believe it when her best friend of 10 years threw her under the bus. 23 is quite an obvious one. It's to keep something under lock and key, and this means to keep something securely and safely. The family jewelry is kept securely under lock and key. So maybe they keep it in a safe or at a bank or somewhere that is very secure and not easy to steal. Under the thumb means to have somebody completely within your control. For example, the teenager has his parents completely under his thumb. He can do whatever he wants. The last expression that we have today is to keep something under your hat. And this means to keep something secret, to hide it in some way. Now, in the past, people wore hats all the time and they probably used those as a secret hiding place. Nowadays, people don't wear hats so often, but we still use this expression. So, for example, we could say, I haven't told anyone about this yet, so please keep it under your hat. Please keep it a secret. Those are the 25 useful expressions that I have for you today. Let me know which one is your favorite. Why don't you try and use it in an example sentence in the comments section below. Thank you as always for watching. Why don't you go and have a look at one of my other lessons? I will leave a link in the description box for you to take a look now.